Stinky Popcorn Boys.
We watch movies and eat popcorn. And are stinky.
Hello. We are the Stinky Popcorn Boys, just some boys talking about movies and how they made us feel. I am Patrick Basketball, and for one glorious summer in 2016, I was a pirate doing a ghost tour on a fancy island, and it was a great summer for me.
Did you say the best in your life?
It was probably one of the best in my life. As far as like summers go, that was the one I feel like I summered the hardest, because I feel like a lot of times you have this idea of what your summer should be, and then that was the only time that I feel like I matched the expectations of what a summer should be.
Okay. That sounds right.
You know?
That's like
beaching,
that's what you're chasing
partying.
every time. You chased it.
Yeah, I chased it and I got it.
Nice.
Downhill ever since.
I'm John Gilardi, and my only memory of being in the Caribbean is a second-degree burn on my foot.
How did you get the second-degree burns on your foot? Was it from the sun, or was it from like Michael Scott reasons? Like you put your foot on the grill?
No, I was like a toddler, and it's like one of my earliest memories.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's why it's one of my only memories of the Caribbean.
That's funny.
Is they had like metal. There was like a metal plate like covering.
Yeah.
Something, like the water lines or something.
Yeah.
It was just baking in the sun. I'm a little kid. I walk and I step on it, and I just stand there and take the pain because I don't know what's going on.
Ooh.
And then I remember eating pineapples and thinking that was the tastiest thing.
Okay.
So that's how much of a pirate I've been, I guess.
Okay. I don't know. Did you do a little hobble when you did that? You burnt your foot?
I don't remember that much. It's just a flash, like that moment. But anyways, so we're talking about Our Flag Means Death.
Our Flag Means Death.
Our flag.
Our flag.
Our flag means death. Our flag means death.
Classic.
How long do we keep that going? But yeah, it's a new HBO show, kind of flagshipped by Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
he executive
probably wrote it, produced it, directed it. He probably did everything. He started it. He's when you do all those things, you can cast yourself as the coolest character and the lead with Blackbeard. But yeah, it's a show. It's a pirate show, focusing around Stede Bonnet, the gentleman
pirate,
and indeed, and his adventures, I guess, and of mainly misfortune, but they always get away pretty decent in the end. And then he meets Blackbeard, and Blackbeard's the hard and badass pirate, and Stede is the kind of a joke of a pirate. And there's some chemistry there, so that's kind of the gist of it. Do you have anything to expand on that?
In which direction? Which direction do you want to expand at this moment?
I guess, did I generalize it and summarize it well?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
So Stede Bonnet, gentleman pirate. He here's the story. I'm trying to find the story that I told as the ghost. As I think I was Cornelius Walscott is the pirate name that I gave myself.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's a hockey player, and his last name's Martin Nook,
and
it's such a good pirate name, Martin Nook. I don't know, just seems like a good name.
So here's more or less the story. One of the most unlikely pirates who ever sailed the waters is Stede Bonnet, known as the gentleman pirate because he turned to a life of piracy when he was a very rich sugar plantation owner and lived on the island of Barbados in the Caribbean with his beautiful wife Mary. However, his wife was a bit of a trollop, and Stede found himself unhappy in the married state. So, with no seafaring knowledge besides that of a passenger and no political cause, he gave up his genteel life as a rich and settled landowner and chose the pirate life. Now, what's the first thing a pirate needs to be a pirate? That people fucking do stupid things, and I say, no, you idiots, it's a ship. No. Now, how do you think Stede got his ship?
Wait, did they really not say ship?
Some of them would say ship, but, whatever. I would still be like, no, you're stupid, because it's fun. It's good. It's good banter. Yeah. And then people are like, how do you think that he got his ship? And then make him guess again. And then they're like, he stole it. And it's like, no, he bought it. Stede Bonnet purchased his sloop legally with all the proper paperwork. He armed it with 10 cannons, hired a crew of 70, and named the ship the Revenge. Now, Stede Bonnet had no obvious enemy against which he could take revenge. It's likely he just chose the name because it sounded menacing and pirate-like. Pause for laughter. He ordered his crew to set sail and raid any merchant ships that crossed their path, and they had early success, for Bonnet and his crew drew the attention of the most famous pirate of the day, Edward Teach, or Blackbeard. Blackbeard and Bonnet agreed to sail together so as to double their booty. I'll laugh. However, the gentleman pirate was soon revealed as a dandy, imposter, and an amateur. Blackbeard seized command of the Revenge while Bonnet was ashore, eventually taking all of his treasure and abandoning the ship on a small island. Now, Stede Bonnet finally had his quest for revenge, but this time around he was not going to be a gentleman. He retrieved his ship and set sail, this time to punish Blackbeard. Unfortunately, Blackbeard had a head start. So now we're into season 2. But,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the parallels of how they hit those beats in their own way.
It's very interesting. So also, too, in doing research, and we'll sort of get to this later, in doing research because I was like, this is a pretty cool story, because it's like you kind of like sort of know about the gentleman pirate a little bit, or at least being from North Carolina, when you kind of like know about pirates, you're like, yeah, the gentleman pirate, he's one that's mentioned, but the main one is like Blackbeard. Blackbeard goes hard. And so it's like that these two pirates are sort of like intertwined. I did a lot more research into it, because it is. I mean, I was very disappointed and also very excited, because Taika Waititi is one of my favorite sort of like creators out there. So when I saw that he was essentially doing this, which is a story that I had also like, I was like, it would be really cool one day to do this. And so I was like, oh, well, that was a good idea, I guess.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
It's cool, but it's a bummer.
It's
but
cool,
I guess,
but it's a bummer. But it's like, yeah, I mean,
at
least
it's cool that it was him.
It's very, I like, and we could get into it more. We'll how they sort of like shifted things, or how I thought about things, or the story that I know from like sort of doing a little bit of research, which is seems like it's like essentially the same amount of research that Taika Waititi did, which maybe is not necessarily true, but it's like. I saw like a video of like how does Taika Waititi do research for his like historical things, and he like he's like picks and chooses the things that he wants there to be, the things that are also important. What are the things that are important to the story that he might like to tell? And I think it's honestly pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I like it. It's a good way to mold things to his comedy too.
Yeah,
and also it allows him to hit different tones.
Yeah.
Because it presents itself visually pretty tonally. It's tonally like pirates and Caribbean in that time period, right? But then obviously there's just the language is very modern, I guess, and the jokes are like some jokes. So then it's like, but that like balance works well, because I don't know. It's a lot to do with the performance and writing, but it contrasts well with the sets and stuff. And so I think that's why it works. It's all just like juxtaposition, kind of fish out of water, even though they should be in the same, like,
yeah.
I guess it's a fish out of water because of Gentleman Pirate. But I mean, fish out of the water of like the language and the mood and the tone is very modern, and then the setting is very old.
Yeah.
So it kind of just compares really interestingly.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that, like, I think that him picking and choosing allows him to tell historical stories, but have them be also ridiculous and not historically accurate, I guess, in a sense, in terms of just the language and, the small crew, for example, or whatever like that, and get away with it. And because like it's established very quickly, like, okay, I don't care about these accuracies and all this stuff. This is just a fun setting. And they're hitting the beats of this real story, and it's fun, and I'm here for this interpretation of it,
Yeah. Well, and especially too, it allows also to sort of like, especially it's very much from like us looking back perspective, where it's like we're able to sort of bypass the things that were sort of important of the era or of the time that were there, like with any of the King or like the political intrigue, and we're like, well, what's the interesting thing that's happening here is the story of these two men and these sort of like pirates, and like pirates in general are very interesting because they are like not, they're more like they're
very organized outlaws.
Yeah. And they had like, you know, the codes and stuff like that because they were essentially, they were like people who were like, hey, we're not getting paid well, so we're going to like sort of start our own thing. And, you know, there were some of them who were awful and terrible people, but for the most part, they were just kind of like, hey, kind of open season. It's the same way like with the Wild West, where it's like there was a little bit less like, and again, not to say that it was happening, but it's like there's a little bit less like rampant murder than I think that people have in general. And I think that this is a really cool thing because it's like the ridiculousness of like a lot of these like sort of situations is just like turned up to 11 with the comedy, but I feel like it really is kind of like that. Like the one early on where they're like pretending to be a lighthouse in the middle of the ocean or whatever, and it's like, this is ridiculous. But also like, yeah, I can see that this is like a comedy version of something turned up to 11 because there's so much sort of like chaos in this sort of time where you're just like isolated on a boat.
Yeah.
I don't know. And there's not the immediate communication that we have now where it's like,
yeah,
hey, can I double check with this? It's like, no, you can't double check. There's no one to double check with. You got to kind of fucking just go, bruh.
Yeah. I think on that, like the turning things up to 11, you know, I think just the whiff that Blackbeard maybe was more legend than man, or like the reputation, it was more reputation than, I guess.
Yeah.
It was just like caught like wildfire, like a rumor or the legend, you know.
Yeah.
And so they took that and ran with it, especially with the fuckery episode. And like they also showed just him being like that badass character and like the theatrics and stuff, and I think that was really cool. Kind of take on that, you know, and it I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of putting into good words.
Yeah.
Can't even say that way, right? It's been a long.
It has been a
weekend.
long weekend.
But I guess like to try and articulate it better. I like the way that it touches on that because it humanizes Blackbeard. It it also brings into his kind of like apprehension of murder, you know, of like straight up murder, I guess, like directly or anything like that. Like it's like, oh, so maybe he is nonviolent in a sense, but he uses like intimidation and different theatrical things, like taking a stab a certain way so you live, or the smoke show with the beard and the misdirection and the mist and all these different things, so he can still get his goal without violence. And you know, I think he would still fight, you know, in combat. I can't remember if he would consider that okay, but well, it was a cool way to touch on something historical, something fun in it, and it brought, and I love it. And it's always in British things, or like there's like, or the kind of Commonwealth kind of humor stuff, because New Zealand obviously has a touch with Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi, obviously, but the hallway scenes of like all the Spanish sailors running when they set up that like weird show, the fuckery episode.
Oh yeah,
and it's like a camera going through the hallway with them, and they're like all panicky. I don't know why. That to me, that is like comedic gold.
Yeah,
like it's in this is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
There's the same thing where they're trying to get through the backstage tunnels to figure out how to get to the show in this like weird community center that was built in like 1910.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was to me, that was comedy gold, and generally there's so much good comedy here, like Steed making his crew do arts and craft essentially to build a flag, and like they all show their vulnerability and creativity through it, though they're still trying to be hard asses. I don't know.
Well,
I kind of went all over the place.
No,
there.
you're fine. You're fine. I think too, like the reason the style works for me too, is because it places, and I'm thinking about it. I've got it on the background. I'm looking at it, and it sort of like takes this, like chaotic bullshit that's so far removed from us, really, if you think about it, like the way that they lived, and then taking it in sort of like adding these elements of modernity, like modernity or whatever. I don't know. It feels like modernity. It feels like a weird way to say that, like modernosity. Even though I'm pretty sure the word is modernity. And why
contemporary?
Contemporary. You're right. Contemporary. They have this contemporary way of speak and like the way that they're sort of like approaching the things, and so it frames stuff in a way where we're able to essentially like see like the ridiculousness of and like sort of the caddishness and like the childishness of like the king or the Royal Navy and like all these like things where it's just like this, like how silly some of this stuff is that they like put pomp and circumstance around, that it's like once you remove some of the pomp and circumstance, it's less, where it's like you kind of see it's like this is just like an old fat inbred dude who's just like saying stuff, and I think like adding that extra lens of now makes it that much more clear.
Did you say fat inbred dude?
Yeah, the king.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of like arbitrary. And then also like having like this sort of like the petty nature of the second in command, where it's like it really is sort of that petty. Because, so I have this theory, and excuse me for a minute, feel free to cut me off, that as like as a people, as a sort of a species, as we've gone through life and civilization, we have sort of this collective sort of age mindset that as we've like gone through the thing, it's like how we think about things is now like in the early 1700s when this takes place, it's sort of like, like 16-year-olds. So it's like the 25-year-olds and like the 30-year-olds are still like their peak like mental acuity, how they see the world is how like 15 or 16-year-olds see it now. So they're like still sort of like operating off of like upgraded Lord of the Flies mentality, where it's like petty and it's like that. And then like,
Well, also on the flip side, you have a lot younger people on the flip side, or like along with that, to the singer painting, you have younger people in these times doing things.
For like on a whole,
in leadership positions, in military, I don't know. Have you ever seen Master and Commander? There's like children that are officers on the ship for some reason. So,
well, because of the way that things were set up, and it's like that's like the way that a child would set things up. It's like, well, you're born in this family and you do this, so we just have to keep things the same. And it's like, it's just like, again, for the race to survive, you continue to do so. It's like something that's set up really early on, and this is again way away from pirates or whatever. But it's just like early on, you establish that like these things need to continue to happen. And so then, like, we don't have the mental acuity as a civilization to expand upon that. And now we're like, maybe we're like 24. It's like, I don't know. Again, it's not a theory that I've like, I've done literally no research, but I think that, like, because I've read books about this, about like rulers and like people in like King Charles II's court, John Wilmot, the bro poet guy who's the raconteur, or the libertine in the movie with John, who's like got syphilis and his nose fell off and stuff. It's like the stuff that they're doing is like just they're in charge of people, but they're just doing fucking like high school bullying and petty stuff with like just all the resources in the world.
Yeah. Well, even any form of leadership, it's like, I don't know. It's obviously there's a complexity. I'm ignoring, I guess, here, but just like the even people in leadership powers today, or I don't know, like Ukraine and Russia, like
Yeah.
the average Russian citizen, average Ukraine citizen, they're just trying to live their fucking life.
Yeah.
And then now they're being conscripted to go fight, or they're being invaded and bombed and killed. On the Russian side, they're being used as cannon fodder, and then on the Ukrainian side, they're getting invaded. And it's just like, it's like that didn't, I don't know, like in terms of leadership and people having power, that's still here today.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as petty. I mean, I guess I don't know.
I mean,
but it's not as like,
yeah,
it's not as, it's not a child king or an immature king with absolute power necessarily.
Well, and what I'm talking about is like King Charles II being like, well, I didn't like the way that you praised me in the play. Like, I didn't like the actor that you cast in the play about my life. And so I'm banning you from the court for 6 months, and I'm not going to give you your crown allowance. And just like stuff like that. Like on a larger scale, there still exists. I don't know. It's just the court politics is so fascinating to me because it is such like it's just people taking up their time for like it's just fascinating.
Well, as far as our flag means death.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I did like it. I don't think that I would love it, but I did like it.
You didn't?
I didn't think that I would like it, or I didn't.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
No. I don't think that I love it. I do like it.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'd say I like it a lot, but I wouldn't say I love it. But that's not like a admonishment on it. At all. It's just like it made me. I just liked it, and I want more of it, and I could have just kept watching, if there was more episodes.
Yeah.
And I fortunately can go watch What We Do in the Shadows because I haven't seen either the movie or the show. So I have that to go.
I think What We Do in the Shadows is better.
Is it similar kind of?
I think the show is better. I think the movie is pretty good. Honestly, I think I think the show is better than the movie, if only because like that's sort of like the mockumentary style like fits a show better.
Yeah.
Fits a sort of serialized thing better than a movie does.
Yeah. That's what I typically hear from people is that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lost my train of thought.
What We Do in the Shadows.
But I did like it a lot, and I had no like strong issues or hates, I guess, or things that would change. One thing is the flashbacks were very heavily done.
Mm-hmm.
There's always the flashback of Steed to his dad calling him a wuss or something.
Yeah, but they didn't really explore that. I noticed that they didn't they did those flashbacks a lot, but they didn't really. I don't think we lived in those scenes really. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if that was. I would say that would be something that I was like, I don't know if we need this. I guess it sort of it doesn't take away too much, but it also
it's fine. It's fine that they established it, but it's like, I don't know. Also let the actors act, and there'd be some performance aspects there too, because it's just the same set of flashbacks, and it just gets taxing. It's like, okay,
they do a lot of flashbacks. They do a lot of cutaways.
Yeah, and it's not. There's nothing wrong with it, especially. I don't know, like. Blackbeard's flashbacks are good. You only see them once, or if you see them again, it's because there's a revelation. You realize, because for example, spoiler alert, Blackbeard's talking about the Kraken and how he saw the Kraken, and it's like, ooh, and then he retells a story, and he's like, I'm the Kraken, and he killed his dad instead of the Kraken having killed his dad. And are you laughing at something on the screen right now?
Yeah, it's whenever the brother does the second brother. Does the that's so funny to me.
Yeah, there's such like subtle stuff. I don't know, like when he gets stabbed and he's like, "Did you mean to do that?"
Yeah.
It's so good because it's just like it shows that character so well as they're establishing as like this kind of optimistic, naive guy who's like in a very dangerous position, but he's still getting through it. Yeah, I don't know. What are your negatives that you can dig up?
Negatives that I can dig up. I don't know. I'd honestly have to think about it a little bit more. To like why it didn't quite all the way hit for me. Like it's like good, but it's like maybe it's because I had this sort of idea of what it could or should be, and it's like maybe a little bit like the things that like it works for me, but it also does serve to sort of like undercut the coolness of things a little bit, which is like still good, but like some of the like sort of like the production design and like the lightness and softness of some of the things and sort of like the light touch with
well, it's interesting because like when they want Blackbeard to be badass, they can visualize him being badass so well, especially when he's teased about in the first couple episodes before you really see him.
Yeah.
So like that's like, I don't know if that's what you're touching on.
Well, that and then
but like that stuff's,
and then also sort of the anachronistic stuff, like I just feel like they could have leaned in further and made it more obvious that was the direction they were going, like with like sort of like the having the racquetball court or whatever inside. I don't know. I mean, again, that's why it's like
I could see that
where it's like,
well, they definitely toyed with it, but they didn't go all in at some point.
Yeah.
But it's like also, I think it's a frequency thing, not so much how far they go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's at a decent pace, but it's like it's either like throwaway small jokes, such as the kind of Steed making a fun workplace. Oh, there's a ping pong table.
Yeah.
Get it? Because all startups have ping pong tables, and I think that makes culture, you know. And then it's big things like the fuckery episode or the talent show, you know, or whatever. So it's like it's either huge set pieces or just side throwaway jokes, and I guess maybe that is the balance. Maybe that is the best way to do it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
maybe
what
that's.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to like analyze what you're picking up.
Yeah, because I guess it's like because I also like I don't dislike the sort of, but it feels like for something that feels expensive and has all the things, there's times where it feels like cheap, like they missed, like we're or sitcommed, I guess. And I know that that's also sort of like part of the style, and I also like it, but I wish that they had gone. I guess you know, we're just do the same thing that I always do. Is like I wish that they had gone further, because there's times where like the boat looks like a set, like it's a set, you know, and the sky is the blue sky.
Especially when it's
we're doing like the Errol Flynn, and it's like we've got our painted backdrop sky, and we're on like. You know, a 4-foot pool with a set in the background. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. But I think that I don't know. I just think that there could be, like, we could play into that more to then doing that, we're able to create more of a focus on the comedy and the characters. And I feel like they do a pretty good job of that. I mean, I don't know. I'm like complaining to complain. I think it's good. I like the show a lot, but I just like sometimes it feels light for me. I don't know, man.
I guess I can see what you're saying. I mean, I think maybe a lot of it is the soft lighting.
Yeah, it might be just the way that it looks too.
Yeah.
I will say
it definitely feels very much like you can do the sets. Like even you don't have to be an expert to pick up the feeling of sets.
Yeah,
I guess
and I
is
feel
a
like
very
that's
simplified
intentional.
way to put it.
I feel like it's intentional.
Yeah.
And I also say like sort of the big thing, I guess that you could complain about if you're going to complain about anything, is like the sort of, and I think now maybe is a good time to get into it. We're about, close to 30 minutes into this sweet old jazz, but the sort of like the romantic tension between Stede Bonnet and Blackbeard. And I want to just like be like fucking upfront as I do not hate that. I fucking love it. I think that it's fucking cool and is an upgrade. Like a much more interesting upgrade onto the choices that I would have made. I just think it's a fucking cool ass choice, and I think it's like there's nothing to say that doesn't happen, and I think that it's just a much more interesting choice, and it makes a much more interesting story about this man who is already like or fish out of water, searching for his place in his life, and it's like, it's such a cool take, it's such a cool take.
Yeah,
and I
kept seeing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I don't know. Like people like thought it was like a bromance. Like that was the comedy. It was like, haha, bromance. It's like, but no, it's a romance story. Which was interesting because you had maybe the straighter, not the straighter, like the side of the spectrum, I guess, of that kind of America, I guess I don't know how to word it right, where people just interpret it as bromance, haha, funny, and then you have the other side who are hoping that it's not queer baiting, and then I think it comes together in a way where it just feels so earned and it feels right, and I don't know, I thought it was such a good choice. I thought it just made the characters more interesting and made me want to go back and watch it again. There's no revelations or anything, but it's like, because I too was also kind of cognizant of the queer baiting, just because it's like, I don't know, like I just didn't know if it was truly a bromance thing. I don't know, and I like the way it turned out, and it came together in a really interesting way where I think it merged two particular viewpoints I'm very vaguely putting under an umbrella, I guess, that kind of came together. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just felt, it was just good storytelling. It was good. It didn't subvert expectations,
Yeah.
I guess.
It felt
in a
earned.
way, so
it felt like it was like, that's what we were getting to. Like, not that like, because it was like sort of a surprise, but also sort of not, like obviously not a surprise. But I loved the way that they handled it as if it's like, they definitely, nobody handled it as if it's like, anybody who brought it up, no one was ashamed of it. When Will Arnett was like, it didn't feel like he was like ashamed of it or anything like that, like would be the perspective of the time or whatever, or our perspective of the time, and it's like like it's just like fucking people who like each other living on the ocean, and that's just how it is, and we've got sort of this baked in misogyny, and it's just like that's there as well, but it's less there. I don't know, it's just like I thought it was fucking cool.
I think where the show ultimately shines is the juxtaposition of at least the perception of this toxic, masculine, murderous thing of pirates, right? And like throughout the show, they're all it's super. The characters are constantly vulnerable and supportive. Like there's like not the classic toxic masculinity, I guess. It just isn't there, And like it's not made fun of necessarily, but you don't see it in positive lights through maybe the other through the English regular sailors, or the Spanish or whatever, and or Dizzy Hands, is that his name?
I don't know,
because he's
what you're saying. Oh, the
second
hands.
mate,
Dizzy Izzy.
Yeah, so like he's kind of there, like. But even he has his vulnerability, and he's like trying to relate to
because he likes
loves Blackbeard.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like this interesting thing of like, C just loves Blackbeard, Edward, as he gets to know him, and maybe the opposite things, how they kind of attract there with him being the hard badass
Yeah.
and Steed being the gentleman pirate. You know, like that's just natural, whatever chemistry and the whatever. And then, Dizzy or Hands or whatever, he like, I guess he I don't know. He has his own little internal battle, which you don't get a whole lot of internal monologue, I guess, on it, obviously, which is fine. But it's an interesting thing where he's actually dealing with stuff himself. He's obviously being toxic and manipulative around it, but he does, you know, someone he looked up to has changed in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when Blackbeard is leading a poetry circle, he's like, "What the fuck is this?" You know, you're Blackbeard. What's good? You know, and that's just
let's go hard,
dude. Just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like even that, like that's maybe the most classic trope of that, you know, hard, masculine, manly man setting of pirates, you know, but even there's even vulnerability there, you know, so it's just, I don't know. I think it's just the classic.
Yeah.
I think that what this show does is it has so many different things side by side that work, you know, or that are opposites that work together, all these different things. I mean, again, Blackbeard and Steed, opposites right there. And that works, you know, like in a micro sense. So when you expand it, like the show is that in a whole sense, you know, with everything, with setting and all that.
But it's very interesting too, because in their sort of like oppositeness, and again, that's what's like great about this storytelling. And this is going to be one where like the more I talk about it, the more I like sort of like it. Because it's like that's great storytelling where it's like in their obvious, like, not dissimilarity. Man, I'm fucking having a hard time with words today. Contemporary modernity. In their dissimilarness, dissimilarosity, they then
and their differences.
Fuck, John. In their differences.
Pretty simple word.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just like I'm pulling words out of all over the place. Differences, yeah, with their obvious differences, as you like go and like learn more about them, they also like have like the similarities that they have bring them closer together, as they're both people who are both like, because it's like it's not the differences that we have that are obvious, it's the things that we want and feel that are the same. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Profound.
Great stuff, Taika. Even though he would say,
yeah,
no, it's just a cool story. Don't care. I think that's one of my favorite things that he does. So he's just like, you know, nobody thinks about theme. Nobody, when you go to write it, you don't think about theme. Just people just do it. And I apologize for doing it and his accent, whatever.
Well, I like the downplayed nature to his comedy, I guess, or at least the delivery of the words of his stuff and his performers and his stuff. It's not British humor, but there are elements there naturally. But it's and I don't know if it's a New Zealander thing. It's definitely a Taika Waititi thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, have you ever watched Flight of the Conchords?
No, is that him?
No, but it's Rhys Darby and Jermaine. I'm sure that he's involved in it because Jermaine Clement, Brett, and Rhys Darby are essentially Rhys is the Flight of the Conchords manager, and then I think you would like if you haven't listened or watched any of the Flight of the Conchords, I think it's good. Like if you're like looking for like a pick me up and like it's been a minute, it's like I'll check this out, and it's pretty funny. And Rhys Darby is their manager, and he's very funny in it. And him and Jermaine Clement created What We Do in the Shadows, and they're like pretty frequent collaborators.
Okay.
So check out Flight of the Conchords.
For some reason I was picturing Portlandia in my head for a while.
It's sort of like that, but more New Zealand.
Who has the same marketing with the
but it's also more
the scrapbook marketing vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's also much more of a story than it is a sketch show. You know?
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
check that out.
I really liked the reinterpretation of the historical facts as I know them, as well as we can, I feel like, know them at all. Not because I'm an expert, but because of like record keeping and like hearsay and like what was actually written versus like what actually happened of that time period anyway. And how like in depth people kept records. People are gonna know so much about us, like to the like with all like the various like smart things that we have on.
Yeah.
And like where we like record and keep stuff. Like there.
I mean, it all depend on, I guess where that stuff lives and how it lives over time. But there's still gonna be like, I guess, as we get more digital, how much longer can that stuff live? But if there's that access to that stuff is always there, then yeah, they're gonna know everything they want about us, which would be really cool.
That's also true,
like,
I guess.
Because it's like, there's a way we can't relate to the Romans or the Egyptians, these, or even the Mayans, like that, like there are these big societies that had all these different things that we have in our society today, but it's just the fact that they're so long ago and the artifacts, the writings that scientists use to figure this stuff out is so few and far between and so unrelatable,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to say if technology exists in a compatible way that like without any hiccups, in 5, even 1,000 years, it's gonna be really, or even 2,000 years, it's gonna be. I don't know. It's just like how yesterday does it feel,
Yeah, I guess it does depend how like the physical the physical servers, like how they degrade, or like what the sort of like impact of some of those things.
I think a lot of it will be
because it's like backed up on the cloud, but the cloud is still
knowledge.
A real place.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's in like Northern Virginia, there's so many server buildings that just litter the landscape, and they had to like put in like laws to stop companies from building these things. It's interesting. But yeah, it all lives somewhere. But I guess I think as technology grows, the older the data, at a sliding scale becomes faster and smaller to transfer, so that like it'll constantly be easy to back that stuff up. I think like all the information that exists today, I'm making this up, but I think like you get the idea of what I'm saying is all the information that exists today, fucking everything, in 100 years will be so easy to store and download and have access to, I guess. In a theory, I guess, of like, and it could be 200, could be 500 years, but like that concept, I think as data gets bigger, the older data can be transferred faster and stored and all this different stuff.
Fascinating.
It could be way off.
You could also be like way off the other direction where it's like, it's like it's there now, but it's just like we just don't have access to it, and or like in theory it could like exist that way.
Yeah.
Well,
I reading a book, and it's hard to explain everything, but it's like a Hail Mary science space mission, and they load up the ship with all publication ever known to man, so that the astronauts have access to anything, because they don't know what they're going to experience. They don't know what questions or weird stuff will come up, whatever. And so that's something there. And then in the new Halo TV show, Cortana, like, and this gets in the science fantasy side with that, with Cortana, but like she processes everything just because like you have like 400 years of technology leading up to that, where some of that data may be super small. I don't know. It's interesting. It's also, I don't know. The Project Hail Mary is that other book. Recommend it. It's by the guy, Andy Weir, I believe, who did The Martian. Which was the main of the movie. But I recommend Project Hail Mary. That's her little seminar on data.
Data. So I want to
hear about your rendition of this.
Okay.
Unless you have anything to wrap up about this directly, the show.
Not really. I mean, I really love the choices that they made. I love the romance between the two of them. I love the Jim character. I love Spanish Jackie. And I love to be like, are you Spanish? And it's like, no, they just call me that. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty funny. You know, I don't know. It's like those things. I'm like, nice. This is good.
I like also how much the show, these people can hate each other, but then 2 seconds later they can be like friends, and you like buy it.
Yeah.
Because it's theater in a sense, and not in any way to.
That was something.
I guess, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like theater moves fast, you know, because you have to. Like you have a child between two scenes, and then they're a teenager in the next scene, you know?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
You just got to keep moving.
Like, yeah. So this feels like that in that sense where I don't need to care. Like, I don't know. I can believe that Spanish Jackie is getting along with Jim after the fact that, you know, killed a couple of her husbands, you know?
Yeah.
Just because it's funny and that's it. The story's done.
Well,
let's
think
reestablish these characters.
Yeah, I think that it also like plays into like like I was saying, like the sort of like the ridiculousness of the times where it's just like, yeah, it's just, you know, like it's kind of survival of the fittest, and it's like, oh, you killed my husband. You know what? I actually kind of like respect you. I've never liked you, and I do have like a blood feud against you, but like also like I respect the hustle more than anything. You know, just off the bat, I respect the hustle, which is funny to me.
Yeah.
But
let's hear about yours.
So here's the story as far as I had it. I think I have a physical copy. Like I wrote out a physical outline. I don't know if I ever, which doesn't sound like me, that I never put it down on into the data, as we said.
Cloud.
Into the cloud. Yeah, so I was going to do it kind of like I was going to kind of do a what's fucking Steve Carell's name? Steve Carell's character, Michael Scott. I was gonna do like Michael Scott into sort of like Walter White, because the story that I have is like, you know, Stede Bonnet gets betrayed by his wife, and he's always wanted to do this thing, and he's got no reason to stay here any longer. And so then he goes to become a pirate, and he buys all this stuff, and he's like essentially does it to sort of like fuck his wife over, be like, guess what? You know, I can't not unmarry you, and like the way that this works is this, so I'm just gonna buy a boat. And like you would like think it like a Michael Scott decision, where it's like he's a silly guy, but he's doing it because, you know, it's something he wanted to do, but also like how else is he gonna eat up their earnings, and he's never liked being like sort of like a plantation owner anyway, so he's just like, I'm just gonna burn all my assets and then go be a pirate. And then so in the story and the research is that they like do accidentally do a good job, essentially because their first like couple ships are like pretty much damaged, and he like gets like a couple like slam dunks like right away, and they don't know what to do, so they do go to, and again, and this is in the research from what I know, that not like, so they do go to like the pirate like capital, essentially Tortuga, and they hook up with this other pirate, and his first mate at the time is Edward Teach. So Edward Teach is like the first mate of this other pirate captain who wants to retire. And so this other pirate captain is like, hey, listen, why don't I send my first mate, and they can kind of teach you how to be like a pirate a little bit, because it's sort of like the both of their beginnings, where it's like that, and that's sort of like how they're intertwined a little bit, because they both had such a short run, like really when it comes down to it.
I know, that's doing my like extra research. It's like, oh, Blackbeard was actor for like 2 years max.
They were
like, that's just wild.
Yeah, they both had such a short.
They're both, yeah.
And but they are, so it's like he was a first mate, and then this other old pirate captain was like, hey, my first mate's gonna come over and like help you be a pirate. You got like a lot of good like bones essentially for your like ship, and like your weapons are great and stuff. We just gotta show you how to deal with it. And so very early on, Steve Bonnet gets like fucked up and injured and like almost like succumbs to sepsis and stuff like that. And during that time, Blackbeard takes over, and then they abandon Steed on an island. So then they abandon Steed on the island.
Is that where roughly this season ends?
No, so where this season ends essentially is like later Steve Bonnet then comes back but him and Blackbeard both get captured and they're in jail together, and Blackbeard's like, yo, I'm going to escape. And Steve Bonnet is like, I'm not going to escape. I'm going to fucking be a privateer. And Blackbeard's like, you're a fucking chump. And Blackbeard escapes, and he goes to live in Bath, North Carolina, and hangs out for a little while, and like is like essentially kind of like living off of his riches, but he gets like kind of bored. And Steve Bonnet is a privateer, but like almost immediately turns back to being a pirate, and actually does kind of a good job being a pirate. And so they're like, this fucking dude, are you kidding me? And so they send a bunch of people after him. And then him and Blackbeard like reconnect, and like it is like a little bit of like a cat and mouse game where they don't like each other now at this point. And then they both get like hung like 2 days separated from each other. So I think December 10th, 1718. And then I think Blackbeard.
Do you think it'll?
Blackbeard didn't get hung, but Blackbeard got his head cut off by William Rhett. But like but their stories are so intertwined. But basically I was going to like have Blackbeard be sort of like an anti-hero / like friend of Steve Bonnet. And like
the cool guy.
Like again essentially like kind of how it was.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, honestly, and I think it's like really fucking interesting that if they, like, even in mine, if they had been lovers too, it might have like I just think that's really cool. I think it's a really cool thing. But that was essentially my idea of it, is that like that Steve Bonnet kept having bad shit happen to me and accidentally doing a good job, and then like sort of like falling upward. And then, then eventually what I was going to do too is like, cause it only for 2 years, do like one season for 1 year, the second season for the second year, and then like do like an occurrence at Owl Creek type thing for the third season. Where he like imagined himself as a great pirate and things sort of like tie up. And then at the end, he's just like, oh no, he's hung. Because, like, he never actually got to be a big, crazy guy.
It is, like, I don't know. Like, there are so many things that are told with many different interpretations. And I feel like with the transfer of information and legend, like, I think I want to see more people. I want to see more interpretations of this. And this is
the story's cool as shit.
Antiquities and our flag means death is cool, and they're doing a great job. And I have nothing, like, I'm not unsatisfied, I guess. But it's like there's so much. It's just such an interesting story that I think it almost deserves to be told more. And it would be cool to see different interpretations. The way that Batman gets different interpretations, and it's always fun and people like it. Because there's not enough pirate stuff in popular media, which is weird.
They've been trying. They've tried for forever, but like pirate stuff doesn't, until Pirates of the Caribbean, like it didn't really take off.
Which is weird because like what is it about? I think there's uniquely North American things, I guess, with the Wild West and then piracy in the Caribbean and the Southeast, like the tropics, I guess, or not? Was it the Gulf the Gulf Stream, like the Gulf waters.
Bro, and here's another.
And so that's so cool.
Here's another crazy.
It's
fucking pirate story. Well, I don't know. There's 2 golden age of pirates. Pirates are like cool as shit. I don't know. You finish your saying your thing because my thing's gonna take a second.
Yeah, you're good. I was just saying, we have these 2 uniquely American, North American things. And the Western, kind of stuff flourishes and has flourished. It's so much that I don't know if it has to do with the Italians making their own movies and their own fantasy of it, and then that becoming over here. I don't know what happened there. It's obviously probably really good research, but I don't know off the top. But it's just like, where's that compared to Pirates? And you have Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's like you can thank Disney to that.
Yeah.
And maybe there's Peter Pan a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. I was looking up pirate movies, and it's mainly like pirate movies. I just
Captain Phillips.
Yeah, I know it's one that's up there, and it's just like it's like Pirates of the Caribbean and Pirates of Penzance, which is comedy. There's Treasure Island, the various times that they've told Treasure Island.
The Goonies is considered on this list. Like, that's how you know it's bad.
Yeah, the various versions of Peter Pan. It's just Treasure Planet, Treasure Island, Peter Pan, and then Pirates of the Caribbean. It's all like weird big franchises.
Yeah.
Like there's no. I'm sure that there was like an era of. Hook, but still that's Peter Pan. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cutthroat Island was a big flop. Like there was a bunch of they tried to do like
there was Black Sails, the Stars show.
Yeah. There's just not there's just not a lot of pirate stuff when it comes down to it.
Crossbones, Our Flag Means Death, Black Sails. Yeah, it's I would love to see more of it, let alone this single kind of story be explored in different interpretations. But I don't know.
Why?
It is weird. That is
pirate
something.
Movies bomb. Why aren't there more pirate movies?
That is weird.
They just bomb.
Well,
except for Pirates of the Caribbean, they just bomb, dude.
Bernard, come here. Sorry.
No, you're fine, dude.
Got the dog in the office.
Got the dog in the office.
Someone's picking up mail inside, so he's freaking out. Come here. But
There's someone picking up mail in the office.
I like the idea that we have come to this. We discovered this shortage of pirate movies.
Yeah,
it's like no one had that thought until
us. Where are those pirate movies? Where are they?
It is really underutilized.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, there's just a lot of there's a lot of fascinating stories within it too.
There's the Assassin's Creed games that are fun.
Yeah, there's just one of them that's
they
a
kind
pirate
of
one. The Black Flag.
Yeah, that jumps into like pirates. Like Steed is in there, Blackbeard's in there. You probably enjoy that.
Yeah, and I played that game. That's the only the only Assassin's Creed game that I played.
Okay. It's a fun one. They did. That was probably the peak of those games.
Well, I just loved taking other ships. I think I told you one time that I got a Spanish galleon because I just swam aboard and started killing people. And I just did it all by myself, and that's how I got that ship. Which was
that's realistic.
Well, listen, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, what do you give this show?
I'm gonna give it.
Curious.
I'll give it 4. I'll give it 4. 4 flags. 4 homemade flags.
Nice.
Out of
dang.
Out of 5.
I give it 4 scared Spanish officers running through a hallway.
Okay.
I don't know why that. I don't know why in my lizard brain
that like hit
like
so
grown
hard.
men, grown men running in a crowded hallway, looking back towards camera in fear. Like it's funny. I guess it's like the scurry. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't explain it. It hits me though.
I understand.
So what have you been watching?
I've been watching.
Can we please get one of those shots in a music video one day?
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, what have you been watching?
You gotta wait. Send me some references of the shot, because I feel like I know what you're talking about, but I just want to make sure.
I'll find it.
But I've been watching Winning Time on HBO, which I think you would like.
Winning Time. What's it about? I haven't heard of it.
Winning Time. It's about the rise of the Lakers in the '80s and Magic Johnson.
Oh yeah, I've seen they played those trailer for that in the movie theaters.
I think you would like it because of things that we've already discussed, like because there's like enough of like sort of like the business and like I don't know how much you know about basketball, but it's like I feel like they and it's also hard for me to say because I know about basketball and I like basketball, so it's like. I think it's handled and like presented in a way where it's like I don't know much about basketball, but I know that like they're explaining what they're doing basketball wise to me in a way that it's like, okay, I think people get this, and then or people could get this like regardless, and then also there's just like so much business as far as like just so much business.
Yeah, I love the process of things.
Yeah.
So I think I think that hits a lot of stuff that I want to see.
Yeah. I think that you would like that show.
I was already interested. So it's good that you liked it. I found the clip of the guys walking through the hallway. I'll tell you what it is after we're done here. But what else, anything else you've been watching?
I also like I've been starting. I think I started. I'm trying to think. I started In the Line of Fire. I started Devil's Advocate, and I started Death on the Nile. So those are like 3 movies that I've started.
Well, now you got to finish them.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, maybe I will eventually.
Unless.
But also like, maybe not. None of them are like part of it is because like I've been prepping for I've been in the tech week for this show that I've been doing, and I've just been like, I put like those things on just to kind of like, all right, this is
for me. Like when I have things that I put on, it's truly a movie I know is going to be a battleship that like if I haven't seen it before, like I just know it's that type of movie.
Yeah.
Or it's something I've seen before. Cause like I like to, I just like to, I don't know. I'm pretty like me not finishing a movie is just not a concept for me, I guess. I don't know how to word it. It's just not something I've ever done, you know? It's not like, I guess it's not a concept. It's just not like something I've never done.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I like to see them all the way. And like, I only watch it if I can finish it in a sense. So
yeah.
It like, honestly, that gives me anxiety. Like that you have like movies just hanging there, you know, that aren't finished, stacked on. It's just interesting that like how different people can be. In their habits, I guess, of viewing. I don't know what my thesis is here. I'm just talking.
I like it. It's good.
Yeah. I saw Morbius.
You saw Morbius. I'm so curious.
Be down to talk about it if you go see it.
I should have some time this week to see some stuff.
Nice.
I
started watching Moon Knight and Halo.
Ooh,
those shows.
I've been watching Moon Knight too.
Yeah, I'm enjoying both. I have thoughts on Halo, but that could be an interesting one to maybe bring Christian in on.
Where is Halo?
Paramount Plus. It's like one of their flagship shows.
Gotcha.
They straddled it between 3 months, so you have to pay for 3 months membership.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure that's what. So Moon Knight straddles 3 months and it ends early May.
Yeah.
And then
the
Obi-Wan Kenobi show starts end of May.
Yeah, they do.
So those fuckers are really stringing you on.
They do such a good job. I think Disney does the best job of it, of keeping you, sort of like you never get a chance to cancel that membership. I feel like.
Yeah. But it's interesting. It's. I mean, I just keep my subscriptions anyways. I utilize them all so much, so
Yeah.
it's not like. But it does feel nefarious to those who like are managing different accounts and stuff, within their budget.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess in a sense too, you could also just stratify it and just knock out all of one platform, and just be like, just wait till like that content is out.
But the internet's not going to let you.
I guess,
You're going to get like Moon Knight will get ruined for you.
See, true. That's the issue too. So it's like it's peer pressure from the world.
Like even for me, Our Flag Means Death is like I hadn't finished it whenever it finished, and people were like, "Oh, they kissed, romance," and I'm like, "Well, that's like you like ruined it for me," but like also like didn't really. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then I saw The World's End. Slowly rewatched the Cornetto trilogy.
Oh,
Great
nice.
films. It's good stuff.
I liked going back and going back and rewatching The World's End I enjoyed it more.
Yeah. It's a good movie, especially when you see because there's the big twist, or whatever. Not the twist, but like the big
the big reveal, the big emotional pull or whatever.
I think Hot Fuzz might be my most favorite.
Hot Fuzz is the
hard
best.
To say, like,
Hot Fuzz is the best of them,
yeah.
I think. And I don't think that's necessarily like. I feel like that's
debatable.
I just don't. Listen, it's a personal preference thing, but I feel like inherently that Hot Fuzz is the best of them.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
And this is not to say that I dislike any of them.
No, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think Hot Fuzz is just so good that it makes you. I guess it makes it's just so good compared to the others that you forget that they're also really good films. I guess if that makes sense. But then I also watched Full Metal Jacket, Vietnam film. It's a great movie, but it doesn't make you feel good at the end.
It does not make you feel good.
Throughout it. But it's really cool in the sense again that I'm talking about having watched that film as a youth and then watching it today. It's just like I don't know. It's just fun almost to, despite the movie's subject material. It's just like for myself, it's just so cool to rediscover things and re-understand them, I guess, or just the different clarity that I'm able to I don't know. It's really cool. It's fascinating. And it's allowing me to rewatch movies I've seen before years back in such a cool way. And that movie really was a prime example of that for myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's all she wrote there for me.
That's all she wrote there, Bubby. That's all she wrote there, Bubby. What should we do for our 100th episode? Let us know in the comments. I don't know. It's got to be really, really close, whatever it is.
Let me see, because this episode, I could tell you in 2 seconds.
Tell me in 2 seconds. We got to be getting close. Join us.
Turning red was 97, so this will be 98.
Yeah, join us now as we discuss what we're going to do next and figure out what we're going to do for our 100.
Morbius
for the 100.
Morbius number 100.
Or I was thinking we could go back. I think that we could go back and watch Rise of Skywalker again every 100 episodes that we do. Oh my god! That we have to watch.
Well,
Rise of Skywalker.
We could make it a fun thing, and we take the 99 films that we've watched, and there's some extras there because we've done some things with more, and we somehow stratify them and.
You don't have to think about it right now, but hey, let us know in the comments now as we're sort of like figuring it out. What you think that we should watch, what we should do for our 100th episode. Yeah.
Let us know.
Let us know in the comments, and then we're going to talk about it off air, and then just going to love you regardless. All right. As they say in the Caribbean, hey, get off my ship. Mate.